So, fun news. Yesterday night, or should I say yesterday evening, Nigel Farage quit UKIP. Now, this is, well, it's massively interesting. And the way that he did it as well, and what he said on LBC, his radio show, when he announced his I want to say retirement, but it's not retirement. It's really a full blown Mike, rock star storming out of the room. I have had it, and I'm leaving. Now, this is, to me, who's been watching with fascination, really, over the past again, since the referendum, the absolute disintegration, shall we say, of UKIP. From this party that was able to effect somewhat of a political exert on the Conservative Party because, well, effectively they were just a more right-wing version of the Conservative Party and were able to massively threaten them by siphoning votes away from the Conservative Party. This wasn't this was always a very bizarre and unique political phenomenon. And now that the fact that they've essentially disintegrated and Farage has left, the best way to put it is that UKIP has left UKIP. I mean, Farage was such a force within UKIP. He was always the front man. It was, think of any band in the entire world, who always had that that number one front man who was always on stage, who was always the one singing, he was always the one giving the TV interviews, he was always the one on Question Time, he was everywhere. He was always Mr. UKIP. So now you've had what was effectively the voice and face of UKIP leave the party. Now, why is this, and what's happened? Well, for starters, let's get one thing straight. The idea that UKIP has become more far-right and has become a more racist party is completely false. And one of the reasons why was that Farage kept a lid on it. Farage was the front man, so he knew how to, shall we say, talk about racism in what we call in England a polite English way, what we like to call the casual racism. It's all right as long as you don't make mention of their skin colour or their ethnicity, but as long as you say they're not British and that they're not one of us, as Farage did on many occasions, you've only got to look at when he came out with the referendum, the breaking point poster, which conveniently covered up one of the white faces in that long queue. And it's always been there in the party. All you have to do is Google UKIP councillor and racism, and you will find a litany of UKIP councillors, because this was the only elections they tended to win, who, well, were kicked out of the council seat and lost their council seat because of their racism. Now, post the last local council elections, UKIP were left with 2 council seats. What many people seem to don't know about, or certainly wasn't highly reported about because it never is, tends to be like a local issue, is that they now actually have 1 local councillor because, guess what, he was kicked off, he's lost his council seat because he made racist comments in the council chamber. You are not allowed to do that. And as a result, UKIP now only have 1 councillor left in the country. So that's one thing. So this idea that the party has become more racist is not. It's because Nigel Farage kept a lid on it. And you've even had people who were part of the UKIP, who were part of these minorities that they didn't like, and you had one person who reported, yeah, I was not welcome in these parties. The way that I was treated in this party, I was treated as a second class citizen, even though they agreed predominantly with what UKIP was saying. That's the issue of UKIP. They were always a very racist party. It's just Nigel Farage kept a lid on it, and this idea that a lot of people seem to have, especially about Batten, that he has that has been pressured put on him. No, Batten has held these views for quite some time. So it's not that he has changed, it's just that he is now, as the UKIP leader, in a position to, well, affect those changes and put those policies in that he wants. And as I said before, with Farage, when he was leading the party, he was able to keep a lid on, the attitudes of Batten and everyone else. But now that he's gone, and he is not the leader, you've seen Batten come to the forefront and start to say more and more of the things that back in the day when Farage was in charge, he could keep a lid on, he could keep under control. But now he's gone, then you've got a situation where I was listening to Kevin Logan and Kirsty Winters yesterday on their podcast, and they basically put it best. UKIP is now turning into the BNP 2.0, and it's just more in the continuing saga of the disintegration of UKIP. And one of the reasons why Farage has got out when he can is so that he is not having to answer for a lot of these people. Remember, Farage made himself Mr. UKIP. That's why I said at the beginning of this video, effectively, UKIP has left UKIP. They have lost their most recognisable voice and face of the party. And Farage didn't want to deal with the stuff that Robinson and Batten were saying on a daily basis, which was basically the stuff, again, when he was the party leader, he could keep a lid on, have now come to the forefront. So this idea that UKIP has become a more far-right party, has become a more racist party, it's always been that, it's just Farage kept the lid on it. So, yeah, this is just another part in the continuing, dissolving of UKIP. So, bravo. It was funny because he, on his radio show a couple of weeks beforehand, he said, should I leave the party? And when you're asking yourself that question, I suppose Farage even knew by that time, even last week, he knew the writing was on the wall, and he wanted to essentially save some of his political career. I would not be surprised if you saw Farage trying to enter another political party. So, as I've said before, a lot of the people who supported UKIP, pre-Brexit, were always Tory supporters. They just said the only reason we are supporting UKIP is we want this vote, we want that pressure, have now switched back to the Conservative Party. So it will be interesting to see if Farage now tries to enter the Conservative Party. We don't know what will happen there, but it will be interesting.